gentlemen, I am the CHALL, your Doncaster Rovers fan, your sporting journalist and the media manager of Sheffield City Football Club. Now, it's late, don't get me wrong, I do apologise, but this is the review of the Hartlepool United game. Obviously I wasn't at the game, so I did watch it on iFollow, and then what I did after that, on the day after, is rewatched it a couple of times as well. Now, the reason why I'm only bringing this video out today or tonight, it wasn't just because I had work or I had other projects going on or duties for Sheffield City or whatever, and I did. But to be honest with you, the way we played and the way we were looking, and then what came out after the match, McSheffrey confirming the interest in Bobby Faulkner from several clubs, McSheffrey talking about the so-called drainers of the fan base, which, to an extent I get. Hartlepool was probably the first time in the 2-3 seasons I've done this channel where I'm like, I really don't want to make a video on this game. Generally, that was my thoughts. And look, on the bigger picture, in terms of the bigger picture, we're 9th, we're a couple of points off 4th. We won 3 in all competitions before this. It's the manner in which we played. It's the style in which we played. It was the decisions from McSheffrey that led to that defeat, which helped, shall we say, to lead that defeat. I'm not going to put everything on McSheffrey here. Some of it is down to the players. Some of it is down to the players, and they do have to take responsibility for that performance. What else can I say? What else can I say? The first goal, Maxwell with the bad touch, heavy touch, Hartlepool literally breaks straight off of it. The second goal, Biggins is attracted to the wrong side. He leaves open the gap and McDonald just goes right through it. Both goals, terrible decision making. But before we even go into how we conceded the goals, because let's face it, we were more useful than a fire and a water display. It was ridiculous. We were awful in that game. Before we even go about the game, let's talk about the lineup. Now, I came out on social media when the lineup was revealed and I said, you know what, I get some of the decisions. Agar, well, first of all, actually no, skip Agar first of all. Ben Close. From the point of view of where I get why he didn't start, was fitness. He just came off of 2 back-to-back 90 minutes. Maybe he needed to come off the bench in this one. Don't rush an 18-month injury back too soon. I get that one to an extent. But Kieran Agard, yes, Miller had an injury, but you do not switch back to one up front that has not worked all season. As soon as you put 2 people up front, you notice the difference. You notice the improvement. You notice how having a partner with a solo striker seems to work. What do you do? Revert back to type. Revert back to one up front. Are you having me on? Are you literally having me on right now? Is this like late April Fool's Day? Am I just the joker in this classroom? Because I'm not laughing at that. For me, it should have been Agard and Rio up front together. I don't care whether Miller's injured or not. If he's injured, you still have 2 strikers up front. Agard or Griffiths. Or hang on, here's a thought. Why don't you give the Liverpool kid a chance? Actually give Max Waltman a chance. I've seen fans crying out for why Waltman wasn't given an opportunity in that game. He's been here since, what, 4, 5 games ago? About 4 games, 5 games? And he still hasn't got an opportunity to really have a go, to really have minutes. He's had about 3 opportunities to come off the bench, and they've not brought him on. They didn't bring the guy on. Why? Why isn't Max Waltman given an opportunity? Why isn't Max Waltman given a chance? Again, I'll go back to it. Why wasn't there 2 strikers up front in that bloody game? Why? Why were we reverting to a type of forward play that hadn't worked because of the way we were playing? If we were playing one up front, you play him off the shoulder, you play along the ground. But what did we do? We played one up front, and passing along the ground was virtually banned in Doncaster for about 24 hours. It was literally banned. It felt like it was banned. It was 1, 2, sideways, back, hoof. Didn't work. Pass it around, sideways, back, hoof. Don't work. It's simple as that. Simple as that. And then you look at the rest of the team. Seaman, fair enough. He gets an opportunity. But when you look at the way we were set up, when you look at the formation on the screen on iFollow, when you look at the way we were setting up, it looked like we had Seaman in the midfield. And the commentary described it, and we saw it on the formation, it looked like Seaman in the midfield, but the commentary described it as Molineux in like a 4-4-1-1 or like a 4-4-2 with Molineux dropping back as a centre forward. What? What? Again, don't know why. And then Biggins starting. Yeah, you know what? Close on the bench. But Biggins, to be fair, to be brutally honest about Harrison Biggins, at the start of the season, the one thing that always got him out of bad performances was his work rate. He always worked hard. Why wasn't Ravenhill given an opportunity then? Biggins was poor in that game. So if we could see that, why wasn't Ravenhill coming on? Why wasn't Ravenhill given an opportunity when you needed that physical midfield connection with the 2 up front? Have the 2 midfielders there, ready. Clayton, if you're going to keep him on, Clayton, and I would have put Ravenhill in there. To be all honesty, Biggins needs to keep earning his spot. In my opinion, despite Close being on the bench, for me, and I'm being brutally honest here, Harrison Biggins did not deserve to start. For me, if it was between Biggins and Ravenhill, I'd have started Ravenhill. And again, I'll say about Biggins, the second goal. The second goal. Opens the gap. They go through it. Boom. McDonald all the way. Wes McDonald. We made Wes McDonald look like Riyad Mahrez in that piece of play. Just running through and gets the finish. Just so easy. So easy. And again, Mitchell having to do save after save, and there was a pretty good save in that game. There was one particular standout save in that game later on, and you know, Mitchell kept it respectable. We did have one bright spark though in that game. There was one particular bright moment and one bright spark in that particular game in terms of players. And he's one of our own. He's a homegrown talent. He loves the damn club. He fights for the badge every single flaming week, and it's Bobby Faulkner again. And now look with Bobby Faulkner. The manager has confirmed interest from several clubs in Bobby Faulkner. I don't think we're talking a loan deal here. I think we're talking permanent. The Bobby Faulkner saga could be the next thing to happen to this club transfer-wise. The January window is going to be very interesting to watch, to see which clubs eventually get named as to who's interested in Bobby Faulkner. And if we, I swear to God, now don't get me wrong here, if he's let go for a considerable amount of money that values what he is at this moment, if we get the right amount of money for him, fair play. If we don't reinvest that money, then I'll have a problem with the club. But if we let him go for peanuts, I'm going to have a serious problem with this club. Serious problem. If we let him go for peanuts, or we sell him for a good value, but we don't reinvest the money, I will have a serious problem with this football club. Serious, serious, serious problems. Because Bobby Faulkner is a exceptional defender. Proper no-nonsense centre-back. Huge potential. And again, we're relying on an 18-year-old centre-back to be the best man on the pitch. Because the experienced players weren't doing jack. Jack. James Maxwell was off the ball on the night. And I don't really say that much about James Maxwell because I think Maxwell's had a decent season so far. But on the night, he was off the ball. Kyle Hurst off the ball again on the night. That's a couple of performances now where he's been slightly off the pace. But I know Hurst will come good. He has those off days. I just hope it's not consistent now with him. And I'm really worried. You know, it's weird to say that. We've won 3-0 competitions. And I think that from what the real EFL was reporting on their website, on their news website, maybe that bought McSheffrey some time. But I don't know. I really, really don't know. Just I can't wait for Richie Wellens to come back on Saturday. Oh, Jesus. This is the same guy that literally said in an interview with Gabrielle Sutton on Twitter, live, on the day, that we did not have the budget for it. With the budget we had, we were never going to be a top-half squad. Wellens came out and said that. Now, of course, there are two sides to every story, and I'm sure the club will... I demand the club respond to Wellens' claims. The fact that we didn't have a budget to compete in the top half of League One. You know, the club came out before and said we had the 14th highest budget in League One. For me, if I'm to be brutally honest, the top half of League One, for me, is the top 10, top 12. So in that respect, we are correct. I think Wellens is correct. But, again, we don't know. But this is going to be a very telling weekend. And the reason why I think it'll be a telling weekend, and, you know, don't get me wrong, I said before this game, I said a couple of weeks before this game on Saturday, I will take a point against Leyton Orient. I would take a point happily against Leyton Orient. But unfortunately, we're not in the best reign of form to get that, and because Orient just lost against Newport the previous weekend, they are going to want to be up for it. And surprise, surprise, we could be the whipping boys on Saturday. We could be feeling the ruthless effect of Leyton Orient if we're not careful. And is that the result that pushes McSheffrey out? I really don't know. I really don't know. My stance stays as follows. And the reason why I'm sticking to that stance is... this is the reason. The reason why is because, you know, I've seen people post about managers that are out there in the market at the moment, you know, managers that are at clubs lower down that could do a job in the EFL, like your Andy Woodmans at Bromley, and the managers that are out there available, the experienced ones like your Nigel Atkins and your Paul Lamberts and, you know, your Woodgates and your Lennons and... you know, all these different managers. I see all these different managers. But brutally, and this is nothing against any of those managers because they've got a lot of experience and I've got a lot of time for all of them. Realistically, who will come in now and do a job? And also, you have to think what the club are going to go for in terms of the way they would appoint a new manager. Would they go for an interim for the rest of this season and just write the season off, which would, I think, would prompt a few fans to start protesting? I'll be brutally honest here. If they got rid of McSheffrey after Saturday, if we lost by a massive margin, if they got rid of McSheffrey and replaced him with an interim manager throughout the rest of the season, I can tell you now there'll be I'm telling you now, fans will start protesting against the board. I'll be brutally honest here. I think fans will start protesting because they can't take it anymore. And I totally get why. You know, look, you know, I think Wellens said it in his video with Orient on social media this week. In fact, today, actually, ahead of the game. you know, look at the legacy Sean O'Driscoll built at Rovers. That legacy has disappeared. You know, he's correct. We never built on the legacy Sean O'Driscoll left. And this was a legacy that was built upon by the likes of Dave Penny, the Snowden brothers, Steve Wiggle. You know, we go from the Snowden brothers to Wiggle, to Penny, to O'Driscoll. And then, you know, and look at, and, you know, I'm going to go through, you know, I think this is the perfect time to go through this. And this is what I'm sort of aiming at here. Look at the managers' legacies since the current chairman became the chairman 8 years ago. And I'm not, you know, this isn't me saying I'm blunt out or anything like that. This is just me analysing what's been done under his regime. So first of all, we had Paul Dickov, who came in during that 13-14 championship season when Brian Flynn became director of football. Paul Dickov played crap football and we struggled. We got relegated back to League One and we struggled. Then it was Darren Ferguson. Fergie came in. We couldn't save the club from relegation to League Two. He bounced back at the first time of asking. He got the squad ready. We saw the article that came out this year. He wanted the finished article. The club promised him half the finished article, develop the rest. We finished mid-table. He's off. Then Grant McCann comes in. We have that playoff semi-final. Then what happens at the end of the season? Pretty much some of our core of some or most of the core of that squad gets ripped apart. Whiteman almost gets sold. McCann walks, and Darren Moore picks up the pieces. What happens in the 2 years or so with Darren Moore in charge? We have a lot of loanees. We tried to build something. We finished 8th in the COVID season. We finished 14th the season after that because he walked 3/4 of the way through to Chef Wednesday. Butler took charge. That wasn't his team. The players were Darren Moore's players and weren't playing for Andy Butler. We suffered the effects of that. We plummeted outside of the top 6 and into 14th. And then we have to rebuild again. Massive core of the squad gets sold. We sold Whiteman in January. We sold Marquise the year before that. And then Wellens is literally Wellens, and I'm going to say this out there right now, we don't have the biggest budget in League One. We can say that for a fact. Wellens has to literally work with that amount of money, the certain amount of money he's been given, to completely rebuild the core squad, because most of that core and that spine was released or got rid of before the summer. So Wellens has to literally rebuild the team from barely anything with barely anyone left. Don't work. In 6 months, he's sacked. McSheffrey comes in, and we are where we are now. We've got some of Wellens' players still here. He's brought in, I'd say half the squad, if not nearly most of this squad, are McSheffrey's players. So he's got no excuse. These are the players he brought in or helped to bring in. And when you look at the timeline of managers, of stability, of time, there isn't a lot of managers that have been given a lot of time. The most, since David Blunt became chairman, was Fergie for about 3 years. Darren Moore follows with 2. It's just, you know, McSheffrey's been here 12 months nearly. I'd say about 10 months in charge. Think of it like this. Moore, Butler, Wellens, McSheffrey. 4 managers in, I'd say, about 18 to 24 months. That is a joke. That is a joke. And this isn't a criticism on McSheffrey, this one. It's a criticism of the recruitment. It's a criticism of the structure we had then. We are looking to try and rebuild the structure. I'm pretty sure Coppinger has a part in the say-so as to what happens next. We are trying to rebuild the structure. The medical staff is improving, but we still have loads of injuries. That can't be helped. You know, the recruitment has been completely restructured. but still there's some players, we can see the quality in the players that we've signed this summer, but we're still seeing the inconsistencies at times. And I think that's where, and I think the manner of the defeats as well is where we've sort of fallen short. In terms of final decisions, though, it's still a mystery. It's still a mystery as to where the final decisions come from for certain things. And, you know, do I like Gary McSheffrey's odds? I want to like them, but to be brutally honest with you, I don't like the odds. And if things get worse on Saturday, I really don't like the odds. And I feel sorry for the guy. I want Gary McSheffrey to do well. I want Gary McSheffrey to be the man to take us forward. I want Steve Eyre to help be the part of the people or the group of people that takes us forward. I really, really do. Because Gary's a guy who I've got a lot of time for. Same with Steve Eyre. Steve Eyre's got experience. Gary McSheffrey's played in the Premiership as a player with Birmingham. He's played for Coventry. Steve Eyre's coached the Man City Youths when Ben Mee and Daniel Sturridge were there, took them to the Youth Cup, managed Rochdale, managed Fleetwood. He's got experience. McSheffrey's been at the higher levels and done it, pretty much. You know, these kind of people, I want them to be the people to take the club forward. I really, really do. And, you know, like we said, we got 3 wins in all competitions before that defeat against Hartlepool, but it was the manner of the defeat. It was no plan. We didn't look like we had a plan. It felt like we were too eager to get at them, and then they just pushed us back. But to be fair to them, we didn't show much eagerness. Gary McSheffrey comes out and said we were a bit too eager to go forward in that. Sorry. I didn't think we had much eagerness at all. I think we had the eagerness of an anaesthetised panther. You know, we had no movement whatsoever up front, barely, especially in the first half. The second half was a bit better. The second half looked a bit better. We had a bit more chances to go forward. We had a better half in the second half. But overall, in that first half, that's what killed us. And you know what? Fair play to Hartlepool United, because they absolutely deserved it. They came with a plan. They knew what they wanted to do, and they stuck to it, and they did it. Keith Curle knows his stuff. Keith Curle got promoted with almost got promoted with Northampton not too long ago. He knows. In fact, no, he got promoted with Northampton not too long ago. He knows what it takes at this level. And unfortunately, the Rovers team have received a giant wake-up call. But my McSheffrey stance remains. My stance on Gary McSheffrey remains. See where we are. Start of November. Wait till Orient's over at the weekend. Wait till the next 5 games are over as well. And let's see where we are. And let's see where we're going to be in and around. Because when you get to November, when you get to December and Christmas and Boxing Day, when you get around the new year, you can sort of see where we're going to be. So let's see where we are start of November. We're giving the manager time. I think in some fans' case, they think they've given him too much time. But in my opinion, we're giving him the right amount of time. Let's see what happens Saturday. If we lose on Saturday and he is sacked next week, then, you know, I'm one of the people that never said McSheffrey out. I said I will see where we are starting November. If he's sacked next week, if we lose on Saturday, it's a results-based business. Fair enough. It's one of them. We need an instant return to League One. We try the best we can, and maybe they think change is best. Maybe that's just how it is. It's a very confusing situation right now. And like I said, the manner and the way we were defeated. You know, in the second half, maybe we should have got a point out of it. But the first half didn't deserve anything from it. And to be fair, we barely even deserved a point out of the second half. It was better, but not by a whole lot. So it's just one of those. It really is just one of those. But we move on to Saturday. But before we move on to Saturday, I do want to get the player ratings, the McSheffrey rating, and the sort of summarising thoughts, shall we say. So let's go into the starting 11. You'll see I've lined them up in a 4-3-3, as with the I follow formation, because I really didn't understand the formation. Even in the second half, you know, I thought it was Long playing at left back, and before that I was thinking it was 3 at the back in the second half, and it was just confusing. You know, at the start of the second half, you know, even Robbie Andrews thought Molineux was playing at wing back, and it looked like Long was in a flat back four as a left back. It was so ridiculous. The style of play was ridiculous. But let's go into the player ratings. Mitchell 5. I mean, the 2 goals. Maybe Mitchell could have done a little bit better with one of them, but I don't put really the goals on Mitchell. The first goal was on Maxwell, the second was on Biggins, and the people marking in the box just allowed to run through in that second goal, and the first goal, to be fair. But no, Mitchell did what he could do, and you know, it's a shame, really. It really is a shame. You know, it wasn't a happy return to his boyhood club. Back 4, Maxwell, Faulkner, Williams, Noyle. 3 of them get 5s, 1 of them gets an 8. Who do you think gets the 8? It's not guess who, you know who it is, Bobby Faulkner. Maxwell gets a 5, and that's being generous. I think the poor touch for the first goal might have dropped it down to a 4, but I'm willing to be a little bit generous, which is hard for me to be generous to a team that didn't play well. Williams 5, again, just iffy. Noyle 5, didn't have... compared to his Rochdale performance, it was poor compared to his Rochdale performance, but he wasn't the worst player in that squad. He really wasn't. Midfield, I put Seaman in the midfield just because that was the I-follow formation, and I really didn't have a clue where he was playing. Biggins, Clayton, Seaman. I'm giving Seaman and Clayton 5s, Biggins 4, and that's being generous on Biggins. Again, I just felt like the second goal he was just getting... dragged out for that second goal, and you know, don't get me wrong, he did work well at times. Don't get me wrong, he did work well, and he did hold the possession a little bit, especially in the second half. But again, just that goal moment, it just really infuriated me. That being dragged out and then leaving that gap, it's just. And to be fair, that's not all on Biggins. I do want to point that out. It's not all on Biggins, that one. Part of that's down to also the. You know, the wide player. The wide player should still be marking that man, or trying to mark that man, or someone should have been marking that man. Unfortunately, Biggins was the wide man at that point. He was trying to mark that man, didn't see the other man, opened the gap, bang, the goal comes from that. So it's not all on Biggins, but he still shouldn't have been brought out just to plug that, just to plug open that gap. Clayton and Seaman 5s, again, just iffy. Hurst 5, again, just, for me, just, I don't know, just something about Hurst at the minute. It's just not, I don't know, a couple of performances have not been clicking as much. But, like I say, I do believe in Hurst, as I do Maxwell. And, you know, you know, hopefully we'll get him back on form soon. Molineux 5, again, I think it was probably man of the match for me. Actually, no, screw that. Faulkner was man of the match, don't get me wrong. But I think Molineux was... you know, the best out of the other players, shall we say, the attacking players. The best out of the attacking players probably Molineux. Again, he tried. He was probably one of the only ones that tried to come forward in that first half, second half as well. And, you know, just one of them. Griffiths 5, again, just isolated and just didn't feel like it was clicking up front with him on his own. Now, the 3 changes, Agard, Long and Close, all of them get 5s. Agard tried, Long tried. He still feels like a backup centre-back to me, but I'm sure that'll come with time with Long. He's 21 years old, he'll still have time. And you never know, if Faulkner ends up going in January, then Long will get more game time. But with Anderson back in full training, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And Close 5 didn't have as much impact as previous games since he's come back, and... yeah, just not the best. He was okay, but not what I think he can be. Gary McSheffrey 3, and that's being generous on that one. 3. There was a couple of changes and substitutions where I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And for me, the style of play just did not change. And again, just needs improvement. The fans getting 8, and half of that rating is just for travelling up there to watch that. You know, fair play to him. Fair play to him, because, you know, fair play to him that went to Victoria Park. Like I said, I really wanted to tick off that ground, but just, oh well. Now, obviously, going into Leyton Orient and obviously post-match from Hartlepool, it's been an interesting sort of 48 hours for Gary McSheffrey in terms of post-match and pre-match for Orient. I do want to read a few statements just from going into that Orient game. On the Lee Tomlin replacement, he says it's what's personnel is out there. We're not looking to immediately jump into anything. We'll be patient and see what pops up on our lap on our database. I can get that to some extent, but again, well, you know, you do also need an option there. You do need an option. I mean, look at Lee Tomlin, what he's saying on his retirement. In the last month, just waking up and taking the amount of painkillers I had to take has got too much. I feel sorry for the guy, and, you know, best of luck to Lee Tomlin in his retirement. Talking of injuries, though, this is what we've got on our report card going into to Orient. Miller, slight hamstring, should be okay for Saturday. Slight soreness on Noel, taken off as a precaution. Tomlin with toe and hip, but he's obviously retired now. Oluwu, bad facial injury. We found out today he's out for up to 6 weeks. He just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? Anderson, back training imminently. Rowe, unlikely to make Saturday, so that's Rowe out. Oluwu out. Tomlin out at retirement, through retirement. Now, Barlow are still shorn of Taylor in the short term and Younger and Andrews in the long term as well. So Younger, Andrews, Taylor, Oluwu and Rowe. I mean, the injury list is starting to grow, isn't it? It is starting to grow. It's good to see Barlow back. Maybe he'll get a shot against Orient on Saturday. Maybe he gets an opportunity to prove himself this season. But again, I'm just not confident for that one. I'm just really not confident about that game at all. It's just thinking about what could potentially happen on Saturday. And I don't want to go into it with a negative mindset. I want to go into it with a bit of optimism. But from what I saw on Tuesday, I just have not got the optimism going into Saturday against top of the league, who just lost to Newport on the weekend last week. They're going to be up for this. Wellings will want to get one up on the club that sacked him. And, you know, do I believe if you want me to be brutally honest, do I think if we lose this on Saturday he'll be sacked? No, because it's top of the league and we weren't expecting to beat top of the league anyway. Although it'd be nice, but I don't think we were. But I think if it's a humiliating scoreline like a 5 or 6, maybe that pushes the door for McSheffrey. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. Of course I could. But I don't know. But it would be written in the stars, wouldn't it, on Saturday, if the man who was sacked 6 months ago ends up being the man that gets McSheffrey sacked, or partly responsible for getting McSheffrey sacked the week after the defeat. It'd be written in the stars. It'd be completely checked off and written in the football handbook. It's like the 15-16 season when Leicester faced Chelsea. The predecessor to Ranieri, Mourinho, got sacked by Ranieri when Leicester beat Chelsea. I think commentary described it the miracle and the mess. It just feels like it could be one of them moments where that could, even though it's top of the league, and look, like I keep saying, I'm not expecting us to beat top of the league. I'm really not, especially with Tuesday's performance. But I wouldn't be surprised if that could push the boat out next week. And I could be wrong. I want to be wrong because I want to give McSheffrey a shot. And, you know, people might comment now and say, why the hell are you giving McSheffrey a shot? He's had 10 months, you know, and he's barely won any games. Get him gone. I just think we can't keep sacking managers. Like I said, we've had 4 in the last, 18 months. We can't keep sacking managers. It might be a cliche. Maybe if McSheffrey went next week, if we lost, then maybe this is the last time we sack a manager for a few years. If so, fair enough, stability was needed. But 4 managers in 18 months, that is not stability. That is not a working project. That is just chopping and changing, chopping and changing. We need some kind of stability, but we need it with someone that we can trust. McSheffrey's got to win the trust back. If we won against Leyton Orient or picked up a valuable point against Leyton Orient and tried for 110% of that match, and we go on a nice run and we, you know, bring forth some stability and some mental and physical toughness about us that we've not seen for a few games this season, and McSheffrey tries to win some of the trust back, then maybe McSheffrey gets a real chance. But with more and more fans every week turning against the manager, despite some results being non-loss results, McSheffrey keeps losing trust every week from the fans, and that's not me saying it off of social media. That's me speaking to fans in public. That's me speaking to fans face to face. Some have said give him time. I've said give him time. Other people, loads of people in my face to face have said get him gone. And we're not talking 20 odd on Twitter. We're talking a few hundred. We're talking a few hundred fans here. So it's, you know, and McSheffrey came out, you know, with the comment about the Twitter trolls being drainers. Look, the people who are, you know, after wins, after we've won a game and we win it very well, if, you know, those that are still sort of criticising the manager when we've just won a game, or we've just won a game comfortably, shall we say, you know, those that are just negative for the sake of being negative and, you know, are abusive and whatever and target the family and whatever, that's just stuff that I can't, you know, abide by. You know, things like that, when people start attacking the manager and stuff like that, you know, personally, and I've seen it in the past with other fan bases, that's one thing I hate about football, is when they go after players and managers and staff personally. Those are the kind of people I don't want in this fan base. If people have got constructive criticism, they're allowed to voice it. That's why I do this channel. That's why a lot of people speak on the channel. We're a fan channel. We're not just one side of the argument. We're both sides of the argument. And I will try and play devil's advocate in the middle and offer my thoughts as well. But I don't know. It's just one of those. But thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, preview coming tomorrow for Leyton Orient. And for now, I am the CHALL, your Doncaster Rovers fan, your sporting journalist, and the media manager for Sheffield City Football Club. Keep living the Rovers life. That is full time. Rovers Tide Die. I'll see you for the preview, the vlog, the fan cams, everything going on with the Orient game on Friday and Saturday. Thank you very much.